So a very good morning dear students, welcome to the live class. So I will be dealing with Mother's Day. As you can see, it is written Mother's Day at the very top. Now basically, as I told you all yesterday, that this play is written in a very humorous manner. It is written in a very comical manner, okay, and of course it portrays the status of a mother in a household. Okay, just a minute, I guess there is someone on the line. Yes, Shubhayun joined us right now. Good morning Shubhayun, welcome to the class. I am dealing with Mother's Day.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. So as I just referred right now, that it is written in a very humorous manner, it is written in a very comical manner, okay, and it explores the importance of mother in a family. There is a social message also underneath the humor, underneath the comedy. There is a social message. He means here it is related with the dramatist. He humorously explores in the drama how Mrs. Pearson stands up for her rights and her family reacts at this. Now there was an interchange of personality also we get to know, and obviously there is another important character. The character is that of Mrs. Fitzgerald. A swiping of personalities or personalities change bodies, that is one of the most important theme of Mother's Day. I am scrolling a bit down. Yes, these are the characters as I referred earlier to you all yesterday. Number one character is definitely Mrs. Annie Pearson, followed by George Pearson, then obviously Doris Pearson, then Cyril Pearson, and finally Mrs. Fitzgerald. But if you consider major portion of the drama, you will find that it is actually Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald. They too play a very important role, and Mrs. Pearson is definitely a major character. Mrs. Fitzgerald is also a major character, because without Mrs. Fitzgerald, this particular drama will have no significance as such. George Pearson, as you know, the husband of Mrs. Pearson. Doris is the daughter. Cyril is the son of Mrs. Pearson. And Mrs. Fitzgerald, she is the neighbor next door. And as I told you, there is her personality is totally different from that of Mrs. Pearson. I am now moving on to the next important part. Yes, characters, list of characters. Okay, and here yesterday also I told you this. I am just recapitulating this part for your convenience. First of all, the most important character, the main character is obviously Mrs. Annie Pearson, wife of George Pearson, a loving wife and mother. As you know that she sacrificed her own happiness to make her family members happy. Okay, and what she got in return? She got in return humiliation. She got in return sadness. But she gave all her happiness, but she got in return her sadness. Okay, now she got in return sadness, and she was neglected by her family members, by her husband, by her children, and she of course day in and day out does her best to keep them happy, to make them happy. But ultimately, in order to make them happy, she ruined her own happiness. Am I clear to all of you? In order to make them happy, she actually did what? She ruined her own happiness. She is meek, calm, simple hearted, docile. Okay, she works day and night without rest, and obviously she is very submissive in character. Okay, submissive, or you can say docile, calm and quiet in her nature, in her character. Okay, now I am moving on to the next one. George Pearson. Just a short info. Husband of Mrs. Pearson, 50 years of age, too proud of himself, okay, neglects his wife, and most importantly, he goes every evening to the club, or rather to say to the pub, obviously for drinking and sometimes for dinner also, free dinner. Okay, and the club members, they behave with him nicely, but he doesn't know that they all make fun of him at his back. Okay, so see, club members backbite, and obviously what they do, they make fun of him. Okay, and what they call him, they call him Pompey Pearson. That is the reason, because he is slow in moving, and he is a person who is a bit pompous also. Okay, he is a person who is a bit pompous also. Pompous in the sense that he gives more importance to himself, and his wife does a lot for him, but unfortunately he neglects his wife. Okay, so this is his character. We are moving on now to the character of Doris Pearson and Cyril Pearson. Doris is obviously the daughter and Cyril is the son. Their mentality towards their mother is same. Okay, because both of them consider their mother to be insignificant, and obviously they are indifferent and insensitive towards their mother. They don't care about their mother at all, and obviously related with her mother's feelings and emotions, it doesn't have a place in their heart. Okay, they don't bother about their mother's feelings and emotions as such. Okay, so daughter of George Pearson, Doris, spoiled girl, 20 years, okay, dates a young boy by the name of Charles Pensy and considers her mother to be totally insignificant. Cyril, as you know, son of George Pearson, spoiled like his sister. As I told you, their gender might be different, but their attitude towards their mother is same. Their mentality towards their mother is the same. Okay, and just like his sister, Cyril is also indifferent and insensitive towards his mother. Mother means I'm talking about Mrs. Annie Pearson. Okay, now I'm moving on to the next one. Yes, Mrs. Fitzgerald. You can say Mrs. Fitzgerald acted as the catalyst in this drama. Okay, her character is definitely very important. She is like the catalyst, we can say. And obviously, as I told you, a next door neighbor of Mrs. Annie Pearson. And see, her nature, her character was poles apart. If you consider her nature, her character, it is poles apart in comparison with that of Mrs. Annie Pearson, because she is bold, she is talented, she is strong, she is aggressive, she is dominating, she is liberated. Okay, she knows some magic. We get to know that she is a tarot card reader. She learned it in the East, and she drinks, she smokes. Okay, and most importantly, the last line is very significant. Lives life on her own terms. She is never bothered what the other is commenting. Okay, she is never bothered about making the other people happy. Okay, because she is very frank, she is very outspoken. Whatever is in her mind, she speaks it without getting scared or afraid of anyone. That is the reason he is totally different from the character of Mrs. Pearson. Because as I told you all yesterday, Mrs. Pearson gives us an image of an ideal housewife, and an ideal mother. But can we consider Mrs. Fitzgerald to be ideal? No, because she is independent, she is dominating, she is arrogant, she is aggressive, and of course there is a lot of changes. Okay, in comparison with the character of Mrs. Pearson, we find her character to be exactly totally different. Okay, totally different. And when there will be that magic will be performed by her, okay, personalities change bodies. At that time, you will notice that all her characters will be imbibed by Mrs. Pearson, and she will imbibe the character of Mrs. Pearson, and Mrs. Pearson will imbibe her character. That means she was bold, talented, strong. She drinks and smokes. You will find that Mrs. Pearson is doing all those things, and the husband, the son, the daughter of Mrs. Pearson, they don't know about this magic at all. Okay, so personalities change bodies. Okay, that is one of the most important theme of this particular drama. Okay, now after having given you all a brief information about the characters, let me move on. Yes, now I hope it is very much visible to all of you. I will be giving you an overview of the drama before I move on to the NCERT text. So dear students, this part is visible to all of you, and do you have any doubts related with the characters that I had discussed, or is it very much okay with you all? It is okay with you all? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. So let us move on then. See, Mrs. Pearson and Mrs. Fitzgerald are neighbors. One afternoon, Mrs. Fitzgerald visits Mrs. Pearson. When I will be dealing with the drama, you will find that in the opening scene only, the opening scene is in the living room of Mrs. Pearson, and Mrs. Fitzgerald was invited maybe for a cup of warm tea during the evening time, and at that time only Mrs. Fitzgerald did a bit of tarot card reading also. Okay, so one afternoon Mrs. Fitzgerald visits Mrs. Pearson. The two women sit comfortably in the living room, okay, dining hall, or you can say living room. While taking tea, Mrs. Fitzgerald tells Mrs. Pearson her fortune with the help of cards, because as you know, just now only we read that Mrs. Fitzgerald she is actually a tarot card reader. So she performed that particular tarot card reading session with that of Mrs. Pearson, and she told the fortune of Mrs. Pearson in front of her. Now what was that? According to her, Mrs. Pearson's problem is that she is excessively fond of her husband and children, and as I told you that yesterday, I think so, that too much pampering, if we pamper our kids too much, ultimately a time will come that they will totally be indifferent towards us. Okay, they will take us for granted, and that exactly happened in case of Mrs. Pearson. She used to excessively love her children, pamper them a lot. Ultimately, what happened? They had taken her for granted, and similarly she used to love unconditionally her children along with her husband. But sad part is that they all take her for granted. They consider her more of a servant, less of a member in the family. She was considered as a caretaker. She was considered as a housemate. She was considered as a servant. Okay, and most importantly, she was considered to be a person in the house who can attend to all their social needs. Okay, this shows that they are not independent at all. They are dependent on her. Okay, now see, according to her, Mrs. Pearson's problem is that she is excessively fond of her husband and children. She runs after them all the time, takes their orders, as if, as I told you, she is like the servant, she is like the caretaker. In order to please them, in order to impress them, she was always ready to do service in whatever way she can. Even she does the laundry also. Okay, she mends the dresses, irons the dress. She does everything. Okay, her son and daughter, they are grown up, but the important thing is that she haven't told them that now you are all grown up, you should be self-independent. She never did that. This is too much, and that is the reason, according to me, I do feel that whatever happened to her, she was responsible for this outcome, because she never ever had spoken. Okay, she never ever had spoken harshly with them. Always with a smiling face, she used to carry the burden of family issues on her own, and as if that she is the only one, to them they gave all the responsibilities. Okay, and what they do in return, they used to go on moving here and there in return, enjoying themselves. And what she does, she spends her time, almost her time alone in the household, and every time eager, okay, to do service in whatever way she can. Okay, related to her family members. Okay, that is something that we get to know. According to her, Mrs. Pearson's problem is that she is excessively fond of her husband and children. She runs after them all the time, takes their orders. Yes, this is something very important. She runs after them all the time. She takes their orders. Okay, Mrs. Fitzgerald advises her that she should stand up for her rights as the mistress of the house if she wants them to treat her properly. Now, this is something very, very important. Now, if she wants them to treat her properly, then obviously she should demand her own rights. She should speak up. But to be very honest, dear students, it is not possible for Mrs. Pearson to speak up because her mentality is not like that of Mrs. Fitzgerald. She is very submissive. She is very docile, calm and quiet. That is the reason I told you all yesterday, picture of an ideal mother. Okay, picture of an ideal housewife. Okay, she now Mrs. Fitzgerald told that there is only one option. You have to speak up. You have to raise your voice. If you don't raise your voice, they won't treat you properly. So you have to raise your voice. Okay, that is what Mrs. Fitzgerald told Mrs. Pearson. But Mrs. Fitzgerald knew this at the back of his mind, and even Mrs. Pearson also knew this at the back of his mind, back of her mind, that it is easier said than done. Because Mrs. Fitzgerald, no matter she counseled her a lot, but Mrs. Pearson, she knows it very well. She can't do it at all. Okay, she can't do it. Because when the moment will come, she can't say anything harsh to her family members. That shows that she had genuine and unconditional love for her family members. But it doesn't mean that they will suppress and subjugate her and exploit her because of her moral goodness, because of her being a very benevolent and kind-hearted and submissive lady. She was exploited by her family members. Okay, that is what Mrs. Fitzgerald is trying to say, that you have to raise your voice. You have to demand your claim that I am not the servant, I am the mistress of the house, I am the boss of the house. But Mrs. Pearson knows it very well that it is not possible to speak up something in front of them, because the moment they will arrive, again she will come back to her original mode. Okay, again she will go on serving them in whatever way she can, by mending their dresses, by preparing a cup of warm tea, okay, or maybe by giving them some food, preparing or cooking for them some food to eat. Every time she was very much at her toes. Okay, I repeat one more time, every time she was at her toes, okay, in order to serve them. Serve them means whom? Serve her family members. Okay, so is there any doubt up to this, dear students, or is it okay with you all? Is it okay? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So I'm moving on. Just a minute, let me scroll. Wait. Yes. Now, Mrs. Fitzgerald asks her to let them wait or look after themselves. Mrs. Fitzgerald, see, actually we might feel like she is very arrogant, she is very aggressive, but remember one thing, what the suggestion that she is giving, these suggestions are not wrong. Okay, these are the right kind of suggestions, that why should a 20-year-old grown-up girl or a 20-year-old grown-up boy will be dependent on his or her mother, okay, for tea, for ironing dresses, because Mrs. Pearson used to do this from the very beginning, and after a certain point of time she could have given the responsibility to the children, that now it is your responsibility, you have to take care of yourself regarding your foodstuffs, regarding your clothes and everything, but she haven't done that. Now that is the big mistake she did, and she never scolded her children. She never ever had a conversation with them in a very arrogant or harsh manner. She never ever had a conversation with them at all. Okay, so the most important thing is that now she is facing the big problem, because now the children, they have grown up, and since they had seen from the very beginning that mother does everything, never scolds us, and whatever we say to our mother, the mother does all those things, so let us impose everything on her. Okay, so see, Mrs. Fitzgerald asks her to let them wait or look after themselves. Mrs. Pearson says that she can't do it. Mrs. Pearson is puzzled. At this, Mrs. Fitzgerald tells her plan and says that they would change their personalities with each other. I already told you that this is the most important phase. Personalities change bodies, because Mrs. Fitzgerald knew her friend's psychology, that she can't speak up. Okay, it is not possible for her to speak up. So what can be done? Let us change the personalities, because this is a magic that she had learnt in the East. And that is the reason, remember, magic realism. This drama is based on magic realism. There is reality also, there is a touch of magic also. That is the reason, no, I told yesterday only, it is not written in a very serious manner. Okay, it is written in a very light-hearted, humorous and comic manner. But remember, there is a social message. What is the social message? Importance of mother in a household, importance of mother in a family. Okay, and obviously to let them realize, to let the family members of Mrs. Pearson realize that what should be the status of a mother in a family, what should be the status of a wife in a family, what should be the position of a wife in a family, what should be the position of a mother in a family. Okay, so that is what J.B. Priestley tried to achieve, and he did achieve successfully. Okay, now the important thing is that Mrs. Fitzgerald decided to interchange her personality with that of Mrs. Pearson. That means her characteristic traits will get inside the body of Mrs. Pearson. That means Mrs. Pearson will imbibe her characteristic traits, as I told you, and vice versa. And obviously Mrs. Pearson's characteristic traits will be imbibed by Mrs. Fitzgerald. Okay, so this is what will happen. Personalities change bodies is a very, very important theme. Okay, so let's see. Mrs. Pearson at first hesitates that no, it's okay, let us be what we are. But Mrs. Pearson holds her hands, asks her to keep quiet and not to think about anything and look at her. Yes, now this is very important. Mrs. Fitzgerald, she performed the magic. She told Mrs. Pearson to look at her. The two women, what they did, they stare at each other. Mrs. Fitzgerald recites a spell, okay, a magical spell. Gradually, their personalities change bodies. Okay, this is something very, very important. Their personalities change bodies. Now Mrs. Pearson is bold and domineering, while Mrs. Fitzgerald is nervous and agitated. Now this is something very, very important. Okay, Mrs. Pearson, all of a sudden, because she had imbibed the characteristic traits of Mrs. Fitzgerald, so now Mrs. Pearson, she became bold and domineering or dominating, while Mrs. Fitzgerald, she had imbibed the characteristic traits of Mrs. Pearson. She has become nervous and agitated. That means there was a swipe in the personalities, interchange of personalities. Remember, this is the very, very important part of this particular drama. Okay, though Mrs. Pearson, she is speaking, but it is deep inside her, it is the characteristic traits of Mrs. Fitzgerald is there. And in case of Mrs. Fitzgerald, the similar thing happened. That means now, whatever you will find in the nature of Mrs. Fitzgerald, those things will be followed by Mrs. Pearson. And whatever Mrs. Pearson actually was known for, that is calm, docile, submissive, you will find that all those things in the character of Mrs. Fitzgerald. So this interchange of personalities, for us, we know about it, but it will create a lot of comedy, it will create a lot of humor when the other characters, particularly Doris, Cyril, and last but not the least, Pompey Pearson or George Pearson, when they will be coming one by one, of course you will find that they will be shocked, they will be totally puzzled or perplexed, okay, because they haven't seen from the perspective or from the point of view of Cyril and Doris, they haven't seen their mother drinking and smoking. Even from George's point of view also, George was also surprised, because George will also see Mrs. Pearson behaving in a very arrogant manner, and both Cyril and Doris, they will be a lot of surprised, because they haven't thought that it will turn out to be like this, outcome will be like this, because they haven't seen their mother in that way. She did talk with them in a very arrogant manner, but the sole purpose was to rectify them, and obviously to give them a taste of their own bitter medicine. That is what was the main target of Mrs. Fitzgerald. She did had a conversation with them in a very rough and a rude manner. The reason behind was that she wanted to make them realize what they are doing with her and whether it is right or wrong. Okay, that is the sole purpose of the dramatist also. Okay, and that is the bottom line of the drama also, that we should take care of our mother. Mother is an important person in our house. Mother is not a commodity, and that is what the children are made to realize. And even from the perspective of George Pearson, who should consider Mrs. Pearson as his better half, as his lifelong companion, he used to neglect her. So George Pearson was also been counseled, later you will get to know, by Mrs. Fitzgerald. Okay, and obviously because every one of them, each and every members of the family is made to realize that what should be the actual position of Mrs. Pearson in the house. Okay, so till this I did with you today. Tomorrow I will be continuing with Ailing Planet. Okay, that is a chapter from Hornbill. Okay, so thank you everyone, have a nice day. Thank you.